Hello, hello, traders. Welcome to the first ever weekly recap. This is going to be the weekly recap for April 21st through April 25th. And so far, just day trading, I was able to make a profit of $2,135. And that's over 7 different stocks. And unfortunately, I am red on 5 of those stocks. But let's go and get right into some of the trades that I decided to take. The best trade that I was able to make was actually on UPXI. UPXI made a phenomenal move. Now, I had a really strong start to the week. Unfortunately, Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday were some really strong days. On Thursday and Friday, the market started to shift and start to slow down. When the market started to slow down, I did not change my trading approach, and I was still trading like things were a little bit easier on Monday, Tuesday, and Wednesday. So I definitely gave back some profit on that. Unfortunately, Thursday and Friday I was red on the week, but regardless, we had a phenomenal week. So let's get right into one of the first trades that I took, and this was on APVO. We're going to go ahead and start speed running each one of these setups. Feel free to pause, and I've marked up all of the different setups. Green means I entered, red means I either had a stop loss, took some profit off, or closed to that position. But let's go ahead and get right into it and start speed running these setups. So first was APVO. I was looking at this one right at 545. I was looking for the breakthrough 134. We get the breakthrough 134. I'm entering a position in right here, scaling in because I saw it was showing so much strength. And then I'm scaling out quickly into that 147 resistance. And then I'm shortly closing that position right afterwards. So that was a phenomenal, phenomenal trade. And then the next setup, what I was also looking for a little bit later on in the morning was a break and hold of VWAP. I have a feeling if we were able to break and hold VWAP, we showed some strength to possibly get that move closer back up to 162. Unfortunately, so I do get in with some smaller size right here. Break on the break of VWAP, we don't actually get that hold above VWAP, and then I was looking for the break through the downtrend, and then that move start to climb a little bit higher. Unfortunately, we don't see any of that action, so I'm just stopping out right back at VWAP. The next one that I had an eye on this early in the morning was GURE. This was a small little scalp, perfectly okay with it. Have this nice little downtrend form. Price makes that first rally impulse high, and then starts to pull back. Doesn't hold on the 10 on the 5, pulls a little bit back, finds some support at the 132, then goes up to the 147 resistance. So that's how we have that line drawn. Forms a really nice downtrend. That downtrend, we get the break right here, which also lines up perfectly with our 132. So, you know, I was feeling aggressive enough to try some shares at that 132 break. We don't get the 132 break, and then we fail the downtrend, so I'm stopping out very shortly after. So this is one of those situations, risking 1-2% for the possible move all the way up to, that pre-market high even. So I think there was plenty of reward with very little risk right there. Great trade. Unfortunately, lost some money on it, but hey, I'll take that any day of the week. This next one was UPXI. So Monday was extremely, extremely slow in the morning. Now, with it being so slow, I knew that I had to be really patient and wait for the setup to come my way. UPXI was that golden ticket because it had a low float, volume was stepping in very, very quickly, and right when it was setting up, it formed into a I think it was like a 315 resistance or 365 resistance. So that's actually, I had my first entry all the way down here. This stock made made a move all the way up to $22. Early in the morning, it was trading around 3. So I saw a setup form down here at 3. I see price come up, test that 365 resistance, then quickly pull back down, holds the 10 on the 1. I'm getting in on the 365 break, quickly scaling out because we got to move from 365 all the way up to 650. That is plenty of space for profit, so I'm scaling out of my position, see it consolidating and moving sideways. Also forms this nice little descending wedge right here. Also forms this nice little descending wedge right here. And then I also noticed 614 is a perfect resistance on that daily chart. So like, let's look over here. So we see this descending wedge, price is moving sideways, holding the 25 on the one, and then also we get this downtrend, price gets a break, hold above the downtrend, and that's what starts that higher move. Now, how do I know 614 is such an important level? This is the daily chart on UPXI. So notice this resistance, this wick, then we also have some resistance right around here for that 614. So I was thinking if we get a break and hold of 614, we might have some psychological resistance, excuse me, at 650. We get the break-in hold of 614. 614 then shows room to this previous resistance, 730. Then 761 is the 50 EMA on the weekly chart. So right here, just looking at the daily, a break of 614 shows room here. A break of this level shows room even higher. So this is why we pay attention to it. A break of this area can show room here, here, or here. Okay, so all of these just making a stair step move up. And look at this explosive move that we get. So let's zoom in here. This is that 650 break, 614, 650, then shows room immediately to that 767. I think it was 761. 761, that 90 EMA on the weekly. So right here, I'm making sure that if we get the fail of 761, that I was thinking that we would probably have to pull back a little bit more. We get the break and obvious hold above 761, and that's what lets me hold some shares for that larger move. We get the larger move all the way up to, what was this? $10. I had shares from $3 all the way up to 10. This was a fantastic move. I remember banking in over $1,000 of profits on one trade on this one. Fantastic. This was also some very volatile movement, but also had some beautiful, beautiful range into market open. UPXI, great chart to study. And then UPXI also had some continuation plays later on in throughout the week. I wish I kept focus on this one. Unfortunately, I did not. But let's get right into it. So we have that first move up on that first day. Price comes back down, but notice how it's holding its gains. This area, which also lines up with that 90 EMA on the daily, because that's at 761. 761 is right around here. So we're getting a break and hold of the 50 on the weekly, I think it was. And price continues to hold its gains. Then price starts to break out of this resistance right here. So then we get the break and hold of 10. We get the break and hold of 10. Then again, we're holding gains. We're holding gains. And then we also know that 1267 is going to be a well-known resistance. 1267, identified from the daily chart, can then show room to that next resistance above, which is what? It's going to be 15 or 1591. Reason I say 15 is because that's psychological. 1591 is just going to be that resistance above right here at 1591. So right here, price, we have this perfect downtrend formed on a 15-minute chart. So then, so what I'm looking for is a base to build somewhere between 12 and 1261, which is what would signal that move to 15 or 1591. I was looking for it on this day. Again, this day would have been, I think it would have been the 23rd. I was thinking that we would have gotten this move sometime on the 23rd. We don't. Price obviously finds resistance here at 1261. Then later on on the day, UPXI. Let's see if we can find it. I think I have the chart somewhere. I'll pull it up in a bit. UPXI finally does go for that larger move the day after, but not on the 23rd, on the 24th. And that's why I did not keep focus on it, because I thought it needed to go on the 23rd. Unfortunately, it does not, so let's find it here, UPXI. There we go. Here we go. So this is what I was talking about. I wanted to see some consolidation at 1267. We finally get the break and hold of 1267. So this consolidation wedge right here, you simply grab this resistance that it found right at that like $13, $14 level, and that's exactly what would have signaled that larger move to 22, this previous resistance up here. Plenty of opportunities to have been green on this one. Plenty of opportunities. But let's get right back into the next setup, which is going to be on GELS. So this one was with that 6:30, was a 6:30 in the morning setup into 7 a.m. So that's a key time that I like to look for setups. So 6:30 in the morning. So my first entry on this one was right down here. I saw that we were forming this 450 resistance. And then what I was simply trying to do is I wanted to grab some shares somewhere within this trading range right here. So that allowed me to have my stop placed right below or even cut shares if VWAP or the 10 EMA on the 5 failed. So this is perfect risk, risking maybe 2, 3, maybe 5% on this trade. And then I can buy anywhere within here as long as I don't get caught holding below VWAP, because a fail of VWAP here is basically going to show room to this previous low. Fail of this previous low is going to show room all the way back down to that $3 range, which I wouldn't want to get caught holding in that. So really great risk to reward here. And as we know, see it's setting up into that 7 a.m. area. So I grab some early starter positions. I add once again on this candle. Then I'm quickly scaling out up here. Scale out right here, taking some more profit off the table, and then holding as long as the EMAs hold. And then I'm getting back in with some shares, bringing up my average slightly. My average is right now right above that 450 area, so plenty of areas to cut if I start to see some weakness in this area. We get the actual the break of 485. Break of 485 shows to 520, then just key levels all the way up, and then I'm scaling out all the way up here at 614. Then another thing to mention is right here. So I close my position right when the 10 on the 1 fails, and then I decide, you know what, I'm going to get back in for that 5.5 break. I was thinking a 5.5 break, price just tested the 10 EMA on the 5. We're just kind of moving sideways within this key area. That could actually show some room all the way up to 7. I was thinking that a break of 550 is what might have signaled that larger move. Unfortunately, right into 7 a.m., this line right here is 7 a.m. Right into 7 a.m., we start to rally, and then we find some very tough resistance right here at that $6 key area. So we find that resistance, and we slam back down. This was basically a break-even trade. Even though it went up 5%, it's not really realistic for someone to grab profits in there. You have to be selling as it's going up, and I just personally was not fast enough to. GELS. So this second one was a perfect break-even trade. This next one, though, happened at 7:01. So this is a very interesting chart. So right here we have GELS on the top. So GELS is this top chart here. And we saw selling pressure at 7:01. Huge red candle at 7:01. Huge red candle right there. So what I was thinking is with 7 a with a little bit more volume stepping in, always at 7 a.m., bulls would then be inclined to move to the next best setup. So this was W in W. So this is a perfect example of what I like to call volume rotation. Volume rotating from one setup into the next one. Volume then saw that huge flush on GELS, and it immediately started setting up into W and W. So W and W, we are finally getting the break and hold of a downtrend, and that's what can start signaling for that larger move. So price is holding the downtrend right here. I immediately get in right here because I saw that price was starting to hold above the downtrend right here. I immediately get in at 7:01 while bulls are busy selling on the other one. I'm getting in to where bulls are going to attack next, and that's what signals that larger move. So we immediately get that larger move all the way up to 275. And this was another amazing trade, one after another. So this was the exact setup on W and W. So we get I enter in right here. I add a few more shares right here, and then I add more shares at the break when I see it holding the downtrend. When I saw GELS start to sell off, that's what gave me even more conviction on W and W. So this was a massive win where I'm scaling out in this area, then closing my position up here at 241. Fantastic, fantastic trade. Then this next one was the next day. This is SNOA. This was also a very phenomenal trade. So right here, what I was kind of thinking is you don't want to be this entry right here was way too aggressive. I ended up stopping out. I thought price would have had to have held the VWAP area, but this is another thing that I might make a video specifically on. If you guys want to see more like tailored videos on individual setups, I can absolutely do that. But on SNOA, there's this thing called buying on the right side of the V. So if we imagine like this area to be the V right here, what I did was I bought right here. I'm on the left side of the V. I didn't wait for it to hold support. I really should be buying right here on the right side of the V. So I can do a much more in-depth video on what that buying on the right side of the V means. But in general, I broke that rule on this trade right here, and that's why I stopped out right here. So small little loss, but then immediately getting back in as I see it continuing to make more and more strength. And then as we get this break of the second downtrend, which is one of my favorite plays, break of the second downtrend is what shows room, is the confirmation that one, we held above the first downtrend. And that's what kind of starts that larger move. So again, I'm getting in right here for the breakthrough 455, taking some profit off the table. Then I see it start to hold 455. We get the break and hold to 455. I'm getting back in for the 467 break. I'm scaling back in for the break of this high, thinking that we're going to start stair stepping higher, and that's exactly what happens. And I'm taking off most of my profit off the table at 539. So fantastic trade, fantastic trade. AGRI, this one was a little interesting. I think I'm starting to play a little bit too aggressive with these downtrend breaks because it's like there's no reason for me to get chopped around right there. Like, again, I want to be buying on the right side of the V. I don't want to be buying at the top of the V, and that's kind of what this would have been. And then I also didn't wait for it to test support as well. So it's like this is kind of aggressive, very aggressive. I do actually like these entries. Definitely a lot riskier. But as price was starting to make that stronger move up with 7 a.m. attention, that gave me a little bit more conviction to actually take this trade. So we have this 227 resistance. I didn't get in on the break of 227. I got in when I saw that it was holding 227. So it's very, very different. So when price starts to hold above 227 here, that's when I'm starting to get in. I saw this strong candle wick reaction off of the 216, the 10 EMA on the one, and that's kind of what gave me the little slightly more confidence to get in here because I thought buyers were obviously present. So I'm getting in around here out on the 227 break. We get the break and hold, and then we push back up to the next high, and I'm scaling out right here. And then if price were to have held the 244, I probably would have been entering in back again, scaling into my position for that 266 break, 260 break. Unfortunately, we don't hold the 244, so I'm quickly stopping out for the rest of my shares. So fantastic trade on AGRI. This was also a very interesting trade. This is the snapback, and my thought process on this one was price gets that first initial impulse higher, that as price starts to come back down and hold support on this key area, 382, if I grab some shares around here, I can just stop out below 382. Now, we also have the 10 EMA on the 5 as another confluence to take this trade. So I was like, you know what? If I buy anywhere within here and then we get another extension from that 10 EMA on the 5, that's going to set up for a really nice trade. This was a smaller trade, definitely made some profit on it, but I'm very proud of this entry. My first entry was at 396 all the way down here, and yeah, 396 was like 3 cents from the bottom of that candle. So basically, bottom ticked an entry right here. Very proud of that one, especially when I was thinking, you know, if price comes all the way down, fails at 382, risking, you know, what 1%, 2% on a trade for a possible extension away from the 10 on the 5. I think that's a great, fantastic entry. And then the next one is going to be on LGCB. This one, slow day. I ended up being red on this day. Very unfortunate, but I got wicked out a lot. On these slower days, I need to remember to zoom out. I think I had too much caffeine in my system. I can come up with every excuse under the sun, but at the end of the day, I didn't understand the setup. So let's zoom in right here, and it was this circled area. I was trading and getting wicked around right here. It was too early for a reversal. It was way, 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 way too early for a reversal. And the reason that I say that is because this again goes back to the philosophy of you want to be on the right side of the V. I didn't wait until I saw support hold. So yes, support holds here. Yes, support holds here. Yes, support holds here. But again, if this is the V, I'm buying at the top side of the V. So again, I'm not buying off of the support. I'm buying on the breakout off of the support, and I just think it's a lot less likely of a trade to happen. I'm trying to grab shares on every single downtrend break. My downtrends are too aggressive. None of them are getting respected. Like you can notice, I've got way too many downtrends drawn here. Way too many downtrends. So this one was definitely a messy chart. Some wickier action on a slower day. This didn't have as much volume as I would have liked. But then this is kind of the key conviction to have taken that trade. When you get the reaction off of VWAP, so you get the break and hold of VWAP. That's the time to enter right there. So I do actually end up taking that trade, make some profit on it. Then I get back in, take some more profit off the table, and then a little bit of a loser right there. So kind of unfortunate. I think I only lost like $100 on this one. Then I played AREB. That was also a very terrible trade for me. But LGCB, definitely a lot to learn right here, especially on like trying to trade on the right side of the V and not always on the top right side. Like I want to be trading off of the support. So a lot to learn right here. On these slower days, I really need to zoom out. And that's exactly what happened on the next day, on the 25th. And OMEX. So this is the setup that I was paying attention to. I saw this high right here, and I was like, okay, 116 break. Perfect. Let's pay attention to it. 116 break. Um, when I'm playing the 116 break, of course, I want to grab some shares within this area, and then like if we get a break and hold a 116, that's what can start showing some room for that larger move. We never really get a clear break and hold of 116. Now, we also have to kind of look back and be like, how much can we trust this action right here when it's trading on such low volume? I mean, yes, this stock does end up making a move, but it's like if I get in right here and I decide to hold through this dip, that is a minus 10, 15% dip. So there's no argument to hold through that, And it's like the risk here of averaging down, in my opinion, is like if I average down, I'm just going to be buying on the left side of the V. So like if we go back to it here, if we draw out our V, if I average down right here, I'm buying on the left side of the V. So it's like if I need to cut down here, I've doubled my loss because I average down. If I double my position right here, I'm doubling my loss right here, which is not what I want to do. So, very very difficult chart to trade, and it's like the only argument to have taken this trade, like this is the reason to take the trade, is this chart right here. This is the 5-minute chart. And on this 5-minute chart, if you zoom out, sure, it seems to be consolidating within a range on top of the one psychological level. So we have this downtrend here. We have the downtrend placed right here from yesterday's high through that after hours trading session. Makes a very nice downtrend. Now, when I was trading it before, I actually did not have this downtrend charted on my chart. Now, there's an sure, possibly if I zoomed out enough and I actually saw the larger setup, maybe I trade this one different. Matter of fact, it's very likely that I trade this one different. I didn't zoom out enough. But in my eyes, you can't really call this exactly consolidation when it's making plus and minus 15% whipsaws off of the support. Now, again, that's one of the risks that you just have to accept when you're trading these like cheaper stocks. I mean, this like 24 hours ago, this was a penny stock, and I'm trying to trade it. So you do kind of have to keep in mind of all of the risks of trading these like cheaper stocks, especially when they're on such low volume. So I end up taking a massive loss on this one, and not a massive loss, but it's like I get chopped around so much within this area that even though I do end up making a winner right here, it's like it doesn't even pay me back for half of my losses that I take right here. So it's like it's just very difficult to trade. It's just very difficult to trade. Now, one other thing that I did call out to another one of the members in the Discord was if you notice right here, my computer is kind of lagging here, but please forgive me. If you notice right here, we're establishing a brand new resistance right at that like $1.20 range. So this $1.20 range right here, the conviction to have really taken this trade after the fact, because again, it's just kind of chopping around. It's very difficult to trade. very wiki action. So it's like you really just have to zoom out. Like that's the best advice I can give, and like maybe trade off of the 5 minute chart as well. Because like if the setup that you're looking at is so far zoomed out on a 5 minute chart, like the setup that I was trying to day trade on a 1 minute chart was the setup that was on a 5 minute chart. So if I'm looking at the setup on the 5 minute chart, I should be trading off of 5 minute candles to kind of slow myself down. If I'm looking at scalping the crap out of it on a 1 minute chart, I'm going to be taking paper cuts. And this is a death by paper cut machine right here. So it's very difficult to trade. Very, very difficult to trade. Now, another thing that I want to call out is we see it establish this $1.20 resistance here. Every time it's come up and tested this $1.20 resistance, VWAP has never held. So when price starts to consolidate above VWAP, like it's consolidating above VWAP for 30 something minutes here, that's the conviction to then try the 120 break. So if I tried the 120 break, matter of fact, I wish I did, a hindsight 2020, but I think the next best entry was when price was starting to break out of this 120 area after consolidating on VWAP for such a long period of time. Now, this one ends up going up 30%, so very nice. I think I sold my one winner a little bit too early, because like I sold most of my shares at that 137 resistance. I never held for that larger move. I mean, I did hold, but it's like lotto shares. It doesn't really matter. Like I need to sell 50%, and then I really need to hold as many shares as I can for that larger move. That's the only way to have been green on this one. Like I got chopped around so much early on that it's like even if I get a 30% winner, with how I scale out, like it's not going to be a 30% winner. So very difficult to trade. But regardless, thank you guys so much for tuning into this trading weekly recap. I did also trade OLB. Was trying to get in for a downtrend break. Quickly comes back below the downtrend, so I'm quickly stopping out. So not much to that one, but that was my week so far. Very happy to report a nice $2,100 week. And I will be seeing you guys next week. Thank you guys for tuning in. Like, comment, subscribe, and let me know if you guys want my thoughts on anything more specific within the market. Maybe talking more about the trading on the right side of the V strategy, different ways to manage my own risk. I will leave it up to the comments. So let me know if you guys have any questions, and thank you guys for joining me. Safe trading, y'all.